Thank you, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, I rise too to speak about the great tax swindle. It is meant to be delivering a tax system that will better reward work and savings and make the system fairer. That's explicitly what is stated in the government's rhetoric about this tax swindle. In fact, it goes on to say that the government is delivering a package that not only is fair, but is seen to be fair. Now, the Taxation Budget Measures Bill has a number of aspects I'm going to talk about too, and that's around the lifting of GST and the reducing of personal income tax. Last night I just thought I'd look at this word fair, seeing as much has been made about the word fairness, and we're certainly over this side of the House very committed to the concept of fairness, but the government has used that word fair in their budget speech and all their budget documentation, so let's have a look at what it means. Well, according to the Oxford Dictionary, the word fair is about concepts like justice, equity and something being reasonable. Now, I just want to know whether, in all honesty, those people across the other side of the table can consider their actions to date as fair. Certainly the Salvation Army earlier this year, when they reviewed the first year of this government in their document, The Road to Recovery, they noted very strongly that in the last 12 months, and I'll quote them here, gains that have been made over the past 5 years in reducing child poverty have probably been lost, and there are signs of a widening income gap between the well-paid and poorly paid. So one could ask whether that's fair. One could also ask whether the actions in this budget will address these sorts of issues like child poverty and widening inequality in New Zealand. So I thought I'd have a look at some of the figures that have been given out as part of the budget package. What will people actually get? Well, if you earn $16,000, your tax cut will give you a certain amount extra. Then, of course, you'll be paying your extra GST and you'll be $1.36 better off, supposedly. Now, that's before the implications of inflation and other cost rises, ACC and other things that haven't been factored into that table, but $1.36. Well, I just went on to the supermarket website last night to look at what that would get that person, and they probably quite appropriately could buy a 4-pack of home brand toilet paper with what they will get. The $1.36 will get them a 4-pack of toilet paper, so that's great. Now, the people on $22,000, well, they'll get a tax cut and they'll pay extra GST, and as I said, I'm not counting in all those other costs associated with rising inflation, ACC lifts, petrol lifts, all of those things. So just on those straight figures, they'll get $3.56 per week. So what will they get? Well, on my supermarket website, they could buy themselves 2 litres of milk. That's pretty good. If they're on $30,000, well, they'll get $6.28 a week, and that would get them 2 kilos of apples. Those on 38, well, they could get a bit more on the supermarket website. They'll get $9.21, and they'll be able to get a loaf of Vogel's bread and 2 dozen eggs. So they'll be able to have poached eggs on toast. Fantastic. Now, if they're on $100,000, let's jump to the other end of the scale. If they're on $100,000, they'll be $41.66 better off a week, irrespective of all those other costs that I've parked. At $120,000, they'll be $56 better off a week. On $300,000, which is the average salary for a CEO of a large company, they will be getting $178 more a week. And of course, the CEO of Telecom, well, he'll be getting $4,845.44. I didn't work out what that would get him at the supermarket, but obviously it would get him quite a lot. Now, how just is that? The toilet paper versus $4,000 odd a week. How just is that those on the lowest incomes who cannot make ends meet and who really are struggling, and I don't know if members opposite are talking to their budget services, but I've been doing so all around New Zealand as part of my members' bill dealing with the issue of loan sharks, and I can tell you that those people know how hard families are struggling. And they know that many of the people, in fact most of the people they're seeing, are having to resort to things like high interest rate loans. I don't think this budget delivers for those New Zealanders, and those are the New Zealanders who actually need a helping hand. They need something from the government here. What they need, Mr Chair, Mr Chair.
Honourable Darren Hughes.